it. Now, constellation work is all about that each one of us belong to the family. It's a fact that we do have our parents, therefore we are alive. We have our mothers, we have our fathers, right? And we are deeply connected with them. Irrespective of what's our subjective experience, some of us are willing to be very close to them. Some of us want to run further away from them. Some are experiencing deep love and connection. And some are experiencing some kind of resentment or the anger towards our parents, but we are deeply in connection with our parents, right? So as Osho would say, like half of your being consists of your mother and another half of your being consists of your father. Through them, you got the life, and through them, you are alive. That's the truth and that's the fact. So in many thoughts of school, like in psychology, there are many approaches that they very closely study the family dynamics, okay? And family constellation is a pretty recent compared to many other psychological, psychotherapeutical approaches. It was developed by a German psychotherapist called Bert Hellinger. It has discovered some laws that govern our family dynamics, okay? So there are rules, there are laws that govern your family dynamics. Whether you are aware of them or you are not aware of them, these rules are still acting up on your life and decide how much love you are going to experience in your life, how much happiness and joy you are going to experience, how much abundance you are going to invite in your life, or what kind of relationships you are going to create, whether it's with your partners or with your children, with your friends, with your loved ones. It's pretty simple as a technique. It looks very, very simple. Sometimes I had participants who thought that they could just, right away go home and call their friends and kind of put the constellations on the floor. It's so simple. So basically, the client who wants to discover something about their family dynamics is introduced to a group of people, and he or she has to choose the representatives from this group of people for his or her family members. For example, choose somebody for your mother, you will be told, choose somebody for your father or siblings or partner, depending what is the issue, and then one person for yourself. Okay, and these people are invited without prior knowledge. So neither they know each other, nor the client is encouraged to speak the family dynamics openly. All we collect is the data as a factual information. Who is alive in the family? Who is not alive? How many siblings are there? The chronology of the siblings, who is elder, who is younger. And then the client is going to invite these people into the field, into the empty space in the room, and is going to place these people according to his or her inner image about the family. Okay, so let's say one parent is looking somewhere and the other parent is standing near you right here. So however you have the image of your family, you are going to construct that image in life. You are going to bring it alive on the floor. And then you yourself, being a client, become kind of passive observer of what's happening on the floor. And the base of how you're going to place these people with relation to each other talks a lot about their inner dynamics. Now, once they're placed, these people have the ability to kind of step into the energy field of that family. And each one of them begins to perceive the feelings of actual person. So if I've been chosen in a role of a mother, I'm perceiving the feelings of the mother, not only emotional feelings, but most often it's a physical sensations to the accuracy of their, let's say, pains and aches and different disabilities have been very, very accurately tapped into this field. And then what happens is based on what's being shared to the facilitator in terms of how emotionally they feel in relation to each other and what they are sensing, facilitator can ask them to move around or to say, like, we call it sentences of truth, like one-liners, which is absolute fact. For example, child telling a mother, you are my mother and I'm your daughter, or you are bigger than me, or I feel deeply connected with you, or I'm angry, if that's what has been, felt by the representative. And while all this time, client is sitting in one corner and observes this family dynamics that are brought alive into the field. Now, initial stage of constellation is what you construct on the floor with the help of the reps. Later is the development of the constellation, how constellation comes alive and these people begin to move and express their feelings and sensations. And then later, with the help of facilitator, constellation comes to, bringing up the deepest truths of that family dynamic, and then moves into the resolution. I would say most of the times it moves into the resolution. Sometimes constellation has no resolution, and resolution is to just accept what has been shown. And I believe that that's still a very, very important part of the healing work, where a client is going to see what's the truth within the family. And it's extremely, healing, and makes client open to accept something that probably deep inside their unconscious they were completely neglecting. Okay. Now, question that you might want to ask me is how these people can just stand there and with such a precision feel those feelings, as I'm saying that they are feeling exactly how actual mother feels or father feels, and how can they so accurately describe their physical sensations. There are times, sometimes, that client says, I have an extreme pain in my right knee, and then client says, yes, my father just went through the surgery, knee replacement. So it's that accurate. Because there is a field, and different authors are calling this field very differently. Some call it morphogenic field, or field, or informative field, or knowing field, where all this information about each one of us is embedded. Okay. And when we come up with the urgency that I have this issue, whether it's, I have migraine, or I'm not able to generate money, or I can't find my partner, whatever is the urgency that client in that particular time is dealing with, comes up and is going to construct this constellation on the floor. These people will step into that field and get that information from there without, again, I'm saying, prior knowledge of what this family is all about. Okay. Now, what are they, who is this for? Yeah. What is this therapy, and who is this therapy for? Who are the people who could benefit from it? Very important is that you need to be open to change and open to receive what is there. That's a priority. So constellation sounds like that you could know the truth of the family, like we keep saying, deep truths of the relationships and the hidden dynamics of the family, but it's never done just out of curiosity, because that's not the space to just know the truth. Okay, it needs to be a deep urgency within you that you really want to change. You don't want to continue your life where you are. It's for the people who have family, and all of us have family, so constellation can be done just for each one of us, right? It can be for the clients who are dealing with the physical issues, some diseases, for example, whether it's skin issues, or autoimmune disorders, or the disorders that run into the family, for example, such as diabetes. It can help people with mental and psychological issues, let's say with obsessive compulsive behaviors, or mood swings, or depression, or anxiety, or phobias, fears. It can help clients with relationships, having a struggle with your partner, or not being able to find the right one. It can help people in relationship with their own children when there is a battle between parents and children. I have dealt with a client with infertility, the people who can't bear the children. It can help, bring some light about the career and the money and abundance, and how much of it are you open to receive, and what are the blocks. Emotional healing, for example, people feel life has no meaning, or they feel empty, or they sometimes express it as if I don't feel I'm fully alive. So in all kinds of situations and the blocks that you're experiencing in your life, family constellation can help. Now, what are we tapping into the constellation? Because there are different forms of therapies, and every therapy has got its some advantages. In what cases this therapy is more so-called successful or useful, right? In constellation, what we are tapping into is collective consciousness. Okay, now each one of us have got our personal conscience. So personal conscience comes from our families, from our childhood, from our upbringing, and it kind of is your barometer within you. Like, if you do this, this is wrong, according to your parents, according to your culture, and what you have learned in your childhood. And some of the behaviors are called right behavior in your society. And of course, if you belong to one part of the society, what's right for you can be wrong for another. Okay, and every time you do something that's wrong, you feel guilty. And you kind of await the punishment because you have done something wrong, or you have this deep desire to say, sorry, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean it. Now, personal conscience is something that you are solely responsible for. It was your choice. Probably you made a wrong choice, and there are consequences which are not okay with you, and that makes you feel guilty or angry or frustrated, right? Now, in personal conscience, we are basically focused on our survival, because every time you do something wrong, which is unacceptable by your family, your culture, your religion, your tribe behind you, you feel threatened of being excluded. Therefore, you want to abide the laws that are given to you, the boundaries that have been created by your society, to kind of stay within that society, right? Now, family constellation deals with collective conscience, not the personal conscience. Now, collective conscience is kind of not your own soul, your own mind, but the mind and the soul of your family, of a bigger picture, where everybody belongs equally. Okay, so what happens is that collective conscience also includes everyone equal, doesn't want to exclude anyone, and it's hidden from our personal conscience. So I might be guilty and paying punishment without me knowing of doing it, number one, without knowing why, what for, and on whose behalf. I might not even know the person personally. It could be my forefather, on whose behalf I'm paying the price in my current life, because I am identified with my great-grandfather, for example. So in family constellation, we are not looking about you did something wrong, there are consequences, you feel guilty. There are other forms of therapy which you can, use, such as probably, counseling or psychotherapy classic, CBT, or emotional freedom technique, or many other techniques where you can kind of offload your emotional baggage that you have created with your actions. But in constellation, we are looking at some patterns in your life that you are not in charge, you are not in control. So you could be guilty about someone up into in your ancestors misbehaving with somebody. Let's say there was a murder in the family, okay? Or let's say somebody has changed religion and was excluded, or somebody was excluded because of their behavior, such as being alcoholic or homosexual, or somebody, having abortions, or something of the other that happens in the family and it's forgotten. Collective conscience will make sure that all excluded people are brought back alive. Alive, I don't mean literally, I mean by your own faith and behavior. So out of love and loyalty to the system, that everyone belongs equally, we will make sure with our own life to change our destiny or the fate and take the fate of the another one, to bring those people alive. Therefore, we might experience blocks, as I'm saying, in our physical health or emotional health or mental health or spiritual health or financial health. And constellation usually is a one session approach. We don't do like series of constellations, unlike other psychotherapy where one session usually never enough. So we have one session of the constellation and we give it a time. There could be a follow-up about the session, but usually whatever constellation shows, we like the person to reintegrate this new image, this new truth that has come up. So initially you have put these representatives onto the floor based on what you had as an image in your mind, and the later constellation evolves, comes to the resolution and shows totally different picture. And this different picture needs to be integrated. It requires time. It requires certain space. Therefore, we give this time and space to the client after one session. So we do not follow up immediately. Now, I would like to give you some examples of constellation, where you will have deeper understanding of this collective conscience. For example, if there is a one sibling who is kind of a good boy and takes care of the parents and always takes care of them, stays over there and works hard, does everything what a good boy needs to do, good son needs to do, right? And then there is another son who is a drug addict or gambler, or gambled everything and, created a lot of misery in the family. Right now, the personal conscience tells you that he needs to be punished, and he never did this. He just brought in time money of my parents, and whatever is left, I'm going to use for them. And whatever is left after they are gone, it belongs to me because I stood always by my, side of my parents. Now, through the personal conscience, you might say that, yes, this is right. Whatever was given to him, his half has been already spent in gamble, in drugs, and so on and so forth. And whatever is left belongs to the youngest child or one of the child, so-called good boy. But as per the collective conscience, everybody belongs equally, irrespective of their behavior, who is good, who is bad, based on what we have learned, that this is right behavior, this is wrong behavior. Collective consciousness does not have those morals. Everyone belongs equally. So, for example, another constellation that shows clearly what it is and how we kind of balance missed people. So there is a man who cannot find the partner. The moment somebody comes into his life, there are some hurdles and women just run away. They don't want to stay with him. And he feels himself very low, empty, as if lifeless, even otherwise, even before having his first partner. Now in the constellation, he's standing, he puts his mother and his father, and himself he puts looking somewhere out of the room, not looking at the parents, but somewhere out. And mother is constantly looking at her son. And then there are some gestures in the constellation which tells us a little bit more about the missing people. For example, this representative of this boy is looking down at the floor, and we understand that there is somebody who died. And we place this person someone who died. And simultaneously, a real client who is observing from the corner says that I've lost my twin brother when I was very young. And when we check, it's the twin brother of the mother. And she wasn't not allowed, but the child doesn't have the conscience to grieve fully and to get the closure. Because when child experiences such a huge trauma, such a loss of a twin or a loss of a parent, they don't know how to deal with it. And it's so painful, they kind of put it under the carpet. And the child is focused on the brother of the mother, and mother is focused on the son. And through the constellation, when we guide this woman to go near her brother and feel her brother and she starts crying and she starts grieving, the son gets freedom. And then he looks at the mother with the help of facilitator, all this is happening, you know, and says, I'm just your son. I can't replace your brother. And then he moves towards his father and says, Father, I'm your son, and please take me as your son. So these are the statements, like a one-line statement, which is absolute fact, but frees this man. So actually what is happening? He is following someone who is dead because mother is not fully emotionally available. Mother has experienced a huge trauma in the childhood and she is not fully available. So son is taking up the pain of the mother unconsciously, and he's trying to replace the twin brother for her. Therefore, he's not available neither for his woman as his partners. And he feels lifeless because he's representing someone who is dead. And he lacks the masculinity that he needs to receive from the father because he's very, very close to his mom, like a twin brother. And this is something that he doesn't even know. Like probably he knew at the you know, information level that mother has lost a brother at a very young age, but he didn't even know personally this person because this happened much before he was born. So in constellations, we call it entanglement, when you are entangled with another family member and you kind of leave their fate and their life. So then you are absent from your own and you are not present. And in a very similar way, you are taking diseases from your ancestors. Well, physical disease I'm talking about. Or based on, I had another client very recently with a relationship issue with her spouse. And through the constellation work, we see that entire generations of the women from the mother side have been always belittling the husband, because there is somebody up there in the generation who misbehaved. And ever since, the women became stronger, always dealing with the men who are weak, or they perceive them as weak. And out of love and loyalty to her mother, to grandmother's mother, he is doing the same thing with her husband, doesn't give him a chance. Right? So these are the now when you look at it from your own personal views, this person is misbehaving, therefore I'm angry. But when you look at the larger picture, you realize why in the first place you are attracting the partners with very similar behaviors or very similar characters. So constellation, again, I just want to repeat, we want to focus on the higher level, or the much more powerful level of conscience, which is the family conscious, which controls us without us even knowing it. And we are at the mercy of this consciousness. And now question remains, can we ever free ourselves from it, right? Yes, we can, only if we create the space for it. And if we kind of bow down to it, if we leave behind everyone's fate, no matter how painful it was, and we free ourselves. However, the family that we come from, the beliefs that they have, the fates, you know, sometimes it's really heavy fates, especially the families where suicides or murders or very, very tough diseases or the wars. that they carry that with them, and you cannot run away from it, but you can have your own life. You can kind of respect what happened with them. You can honor and trust that they are bigger than you. It is theirs and they can take care of it. And small such sentences, this truth sentences, is something that gives you a lot of ease, you know, relaxation, peace. And peace, I'm not saying mental peace, peace within, like in your heart. It's a very, very different experience. So it's extremely healing. Now I would like to take the questions first, and then we see where we go. Do you have any questions? Just unmute yourself, or do I need to unmute you? Let me say, just let me know. There is a critics in everyone. Nice to see. Okay. You can write here on the chat and then I'll unmute you. Me, Asma. Hi, I have a question. Iram, 1 second. Can you unmute yourself, Iram? No, not able to. Okay. Okay, let me figure this out. Participants. Asma says I have it. Okay. Is Illuminations listening to me? Can you guys unmute? Even I'm not able to. They're not listening. 1 second. I need to unmute. Help. Oh God, I guess Illuminations has to unmute. Or I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it from my end. Anna is unmuted now. Okay, Anna, did you do it yourself? Can you teach us? Okay, Jean.
Yeah,
okay,
now
everyone is unmuted now. Everyone is unmuted. I guess it's through Illuminations. So let's go one by one. Asma, yes.
Yes, hi. Hi, Irina. How are you? Can the rest unmute themselves, please?
1 second.
Yes,
go ahead.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's
Hi,
done.
Irina. I've done a constellation with you in 2016 in Illumination, and it was my first experience, and it was something that is so interesting. It's like I did not get it back then, but I understand it more now, and I'm very thankful for it. My question is, I've heard from other constellation facilitators that it is not recommended after every constellation to do other spiritual work like meditation or breathing. It's not recommended. Like, it's recommended after each constellation to give yourself a break. So what do you think about that? And I just want to say that the constellation I did in 2016, I only understood it fully, let's say this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asma. Okay, let me answer your question. Number one, after the constellation, you can absolutely do your breath work and your meditation. Okay, what you can't do is another form of therapy. Let's say you have done constellation and you rushed into a CBT or hypnotherapy or NLP or any other process with your mind. Okay, now meditation is the place of silence, deep silence, which is rather extremely helpful with constellation, because you need to be silent to be able to integrate that huge change that constellation has shown you. Similarly, the breath work has absolutely no negative effect. What you don't want to do is even after the constellation, let's say we have a tea break, coffee break, when we are doing it in group, to just stand there and discuss your constellation with others, or others are going to ask you the question. So you go home to kind of tell your loved ones, your family, what has happened, and you keep discussing and intellectualizing and rationalizing. This is something you need to totally avoid. And I'm very, very glad that you didn't do something like that, because I understand that, you know, that aha moment came after almost 4 years. You are saying we're in 2020 now. Sometimes that happens in constellation. And many of my participants who are right now online and know my work, sometimes they get irritated with me because I totally refuse to talk about constellation when they don't get it in that process. You know, they have question, okay, who was that person sometimes, you know, or what that meant. And I say, not now, let some time pass. I always remember everyone's constellation, however strange it might sound. And I can always, you know, give you the answer probably after like 4 years, if you still need the answer, but nobody ever comes back that, oh, I still didn't get it. So it's always better that you get it on your own. Yeah, I hope I answered your question. Yes. Next one was the next thing. Iram has a question. Can you unmute yourself? Not okay. So unmute. Yes, I can unmute you now. 1 second. Doesn't happen from here. So
Irina, since they're unmuting, just like a follow-up to my question. So it is I would say, from what I understood from my experience, is just like wait for your intuition to tell you when to talk about it or discuss it. But like ideally, shall we like wait for a month or two? That is like a period that you would recommend, like a month or 2 months.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And I will recommend never to discuss it with others. Just keep it to yourself. I will always recommend that. Okay. I mean your loved ones. After a month or two, you can, you know, come back to, if you are in the same group, and then say whatever you feel like saying or asking, but don't make it a, you know, theme for like gossip and, you know, intellectualizing, and nothing of that sort. Iram, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Hi. Thank you for that introduction. I want to know how this healing affects the other members in the family, whether it even has an effect or no, or is it only focused on the person who is doing the healing?
Yes, yes. It is only focused on the person who is doing the healing. However, it affects every member of the family, every member who is involved in this dynamics. Okay, so
Okay.
So for example, if let's say in the constellation there was a missing child that wasn't acknowledged or forgotten, and the client grieves this child being, let's say, a sibling, suddenly this client is going to observe that how mother has got the closure with the child, and how the dynamics between parents have shifted. That's also is
Okay.
happening. So it has effect on the entire system, let's put it this way. But our focus while we are working is only on the client, from the client's perspective, from client's angle.
But can I then do a healing for somebody else?
Yes, you can. You can.
We can. Okay.
Provided that somebody else is in connection with you. Otherwise, I don't even see why would you do for
Yeah, like I would like to do it for my son. Is that possible?
Absolutely. Of course. Of course.
Okay.
100%.
All right. And how long does the healing session last? Like how long does it take?
That is very individual. Sometimes constellations are like 5 minutes and it's over, and sometimes it goes for 1 hour. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Usually like approximately maybe 40 minutes to 1 hour.
Okay. All right. I'll get in touch with you. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks. Yeah.
Anna had a question. Where is Anna? Yes, Anna, can you? I'm not able to unmute. Arpita, I can see you here. Can you please help? Why unmute button doesn't work?
Irina, I
Yeah.
think they tell Illuminations to make you the host. Then you can do it very
I've
easily.
already messaged.
Yeah, I'll call Pia. Wait, I'll call Pia and I'll ask, because if you are the host, then you can very easily mute and unmute. Otherwise, they have to do it for singularly. Yeah, they have made you a co-host. Now try, Irina. Now you should be able to do it.
Okay.
So you go to participants and then you can unmute. Yeah.
They're just not finding the Anna now. She was there and right now I can't see her. Anyways,
I think there are a lot of questions in the chat. So yeah.
Sakshi, so okay, let's go to Sakshi. Yes,
Yeah, hi Irina, how are you?
Hi.
Good. Okay, so Irina, my question is like, what if you have toxic relation with a person in the family, and it's like the relationship is quite bad. So is it like you leave that relationship, you don't heal it, or you can still heal it? How does it work?
So it depends who is the relationship. Can you ever leave your parents? Can you ever leave your siblings? Yes, if it's a partner, you can change the partner. But can you change your siblings or your grandparents or your parents? It's not possible. But sometimes, even when you have this toxic relationship with your partner, many a times, I would say, or most of the times, both of you are entangled with respective families somewhere behind. So this toxicity that you have, yes, it could come from your personal conscience, which means that you kind of misbehaved according to your conscience.
Right.
And angered another person. That's one thing. But there is story behind you through your ancestors, and he's bringing his story from behind him. Right. So we find that these toxic relationships between partners can be resolved by dealing with your own entanglements in your own family.
Okay. So tell me,
that's your personal choice whether you want to leave relationships just because it's toxic.
Okay. Or walk out of it. Another thing, so how does sorry, this is a little maybe out of the scenario. So how does law of karma, play in this scenario? That would be very different.
I don't know what you exactly mean by a law of
karmas. I mean your actions, like what we've learned in
your actions. It's absolutely, see, karma is something I would say scientific rather than philosophical. Yeah, whatever you put out, it just comes back to you. with this same force. And now law of karma is that I've done something wrong and I'm going to
I'm going to suffer for that. I have to face the
but
consequences.
in constellation, what we see, that law of karma works through the family. So somebody else might have done something, but because you're part of the family, you are going to pay for it.
So that means I have not done wrong, but it's because it's been running from there. Okay, so that is the awareness. Yeah,
yes,
because
yes, and you are doing it out of love and loyalty to that person. Correct. Deep love and loyalty. And can you free yourself from this? Yes, you can.
Okay, that means I don't need to suffer for it, but I'm suffering. But through constellation, I can release myself. I can release that suffering and let go of it.
Yes, and you are not even aware of it.
Correct. Okay, got it.
You are not aware of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Hi, Irene and Shaya.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Recently, I did a past life regression.
Mm-hmm.
And due to, I felt that, something I have to sort out because of my present relationships. And I was not sure what's going on. So I went for a past life regression. I did a past life regression. So you mentioned earlier, if you have done a past life regression or something similar to that, you should not do immediately a constellation so soon, correct?
Is this Angela?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, Angela. No, I didn't mention that. I said if you have done constellation, family constellation, systemic constellation, you do not jump into any other form of therapy immediately, such as past life regression therapy, for example. But not otherwise. If you have done past life,
so in case if I have,
go ahead.
Yeah, even let's say if I have done a past life regression, but still I feel there is a block. I still feel my heart chakra, just my throat chakra is a bit blocked. Can I do a constellation and to sort it out and find out what's the reason for this?
Yes, you can. You certainly can. You certainly can.
I can. So when I do this constellation, my next question is going to be, will I find the answer and will I relieve or have a peace which I'm looking for?
That I don't know. That I would ask you.
I do not know. I feel that something is really stuck.
Yeah, see, constellation is solution focused therapy, right? In constellation, it's kind of has a 3 parts when you are facilitating constellation. And the first part is to identify the dynamic, what is causing it, right? And then is to allow it to move where energy move, and then to bring it to the resolution. Now, I said that most of the times we are able to see the resolution, but sometimes we are not. And resolution, not having a resolution itself is a resolution. So if there is something that you need to stay with this uneasy feeling for further, constellation might show you, and you need to be in peace while being not at ease, right? And on the most of the cases, you might find your peace and ease.
Yeah. So let's say give certain answers when you do the constellation. Where it comes from, what's the cause of this? And let's say you have forgive and let go with love, and you let go and you say, I don't want to carry this burden in this life or something else somebody has done in my past generation or my ancestry. I can let go if I really want it, correct?
Angela, your voice is cracking, but whatever I could understand, it's a little bit different. It's not about what you want or what you don't. Sometimes you
Okay.
find, let me explain. Sometimes you find,
Mm-hmm.
let's say the parent, let's say mother is very sick, okay, has a
Okay.
clinical depression, for example, or rheumatoid arthritis, extremely painful disease. And then daughter finds herself
Uh-huh.
following the mother because mother is struggling so much with her health, and daughter, out of love and loyalty, will have the disease, however, will make sure that she's not enjoying her intimacy with her husband, for example. Completely, you know, creates this
Okay.
situation where she is following her mother. Whatever my mother couldn't enjoy, I'm going to be just like her, out of love and loyalty. Okay, now you might not be seeing it consciously because consciously you don't want it. You could be blaming your husband for it, but the constellation is showing it. Now you have to be in a deep respect and honor towards your mother, not that, oh my God, this is yours and, you know, take it back and I don't want to carry it. Not with this attitude, but the attitude that your mother can carry her own fate. It's an extremely difficult fate, extremely difficult life that she is carrying, but it is hers, and you need to have a respect that she can do it because that belongs to her. Only then you can free. But will you not carry the pain that your mother is in pain? Of course, you will always carry it, your mother, right? So this is called, you know, identifying where you are entangled and then truly respecting the person. Sometimes what happens when our parents are going through difficult fates, such as depression, anxiety, or even physical diseases, then we feel that they are small and we are bigger because we are stronger, we are smarter, we are more exposed, or we are more financially, you know, more abundant, and we can dictate their life, what they have to eat, how many times they need to see the doctor. That's not our role. Our role remains small. So from that attitude of being small, and accepting that this is your mother and she has got her life, her fate, her disease, and you could even see further that she's taking it from her mother. But just because you came to this, you know, realization or awareness and can free yourself, you cannot force her to free herself.
Oh, okay.
That's not your fault, because what happens in spirituality, we come for the workshops, we learn great techniques, and the first one that we want to work on is our parents or our family members. And we just want everything good for them and we want to free them. But that's not the case. You need to have a deep respect. Just because you have read 2 books and, you know, attended 5 meditations at Illuminations doesn't mean you need to boss around any other family member and say what's right and wrong. So that's the attitude we need to do this work with.
Okay. So even though you, I feel that, you know, there is something still blocking, even though after the past life regression, if in case I do the constellation, I will find the answers and I have to sort it and accept it and let go of it, correct?
I'm not sure. I don't know what you mean by, you know, letting go of it. And some things are not to be let go on. Some things are to be carried until the death. So I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to the questions. Again, is now. Okay. Are there any other questions? I think I've read all. Yes. Yes, Gina. 1 second. Gina, I can't hear you. Wait, let me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, Irina.
Yes.
I am calling you from Mauritius. I met you. I want to know if you said to someone that she has been released because she understood what the problem was in the family dynamics. Does it mean that if I heal myself, my whole family will be healed from that problem?
Gina, very good question and very difficult one, let me tell you. Okay, so depends. See, one thing is that your desire, when you are doing the constellation, you have some kind of difficulty, so-called issue, and you are constellating, and then the last image, the resolution that has happened. Okay, let's say, for example, let's take an example. It's easier for me to explain. Let's say there was a miscarried child that was not grieved. Okay, now this child belongs not only to you, but your husband as well, right? Now you take this child in, you completely forgotten, it was painful, you didn't grieve, and now the issue, let's say your migraine was related to this child. That's what constellation has shown, and you got the opportunity to integrate this child and take this child in as your baby. Now it is going to bring peace in your family, but let's say your husband has got the attitude, I'm sorry, I'm just taking this example, right? It's totally, and he has got the attitude, just don't talk about it to me. And he's still not open to grief and melt and face the pain. Now that attitude is going to block that person, whoever that person is. And that healing would be probably for you, probably for your children. So it depends. It really depends how much, because openness of the person has to be there. But if you change, because let's say migraine was related to this missing child, and then your migraine is much better, okay, your moods change at home, your moods change, it affects indirectly your husband. He becomes more joyous, more relaxed, released around you, because you are not constantly this gloomy and dealing with your pain. So invariably it's like a domino, it is going to affect, but in what way, I don't know. Depends on the issue to issue. When we change, our world around us changes. It can't remain the same.
Since we are talking about losing a child, right? Yeah. Does the child come back after some time in the same family dynamics?
Gina, irrespective of what I say right now would be my belief system. Yeah, it won't be ultimate truth. It's not that I'm a God and I'll say and so be it, right? So it will be my belief system. I truly believe personally that yes, children do come back, because the soul that comes to you, I believe that there is a connection, some karmic connection over there, and probably they will come back again. And sometimes they might not, because you have now karma with another person, and probably karma was that child tried coming and you kind of rejected. I don't know. It can happen. Yeah. Can it happen? Of course it can happen. But all the time it's like that? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Can we do constellation on Zoom? Asma is asking. Yes, we can do constellation on Zoom. Ever since we have been under this lockdown, we have, not only me, but other facilitators also have experimented, and we can do it on Zoom. Now, I have not done group constellation on Zoom, however. But there are people who are doing it. So there are people, let's say, like we are a group right now, and if I lead the constellation, and let's say Gina is the client, and I ask Angela to become her mother and Sakshi to become her father, and yes, people are doing this. I've personally not done this. I worked one-on-one with clients, and we have been using their perfume bottles and some cosmetics. So you kind of place it on the table. You choose one bottle for your parent, another for another parent. So I've done constellation like that. How do private family constellation workshop works? So private family constellation is one-on-one. So you don't have abundance of other people to represent your family. So what you do is, again, you take objects, okay? So you have, let's say, something that can stand, and you have these objects and you place them on the table. Table becomes that field like a matrix. And then you are the one who places the hand on each object and channels it. So very often what I do, because client knows their own story and they are very biased towards it, when they choose the objects, I will be the one naming them. So this is father, that's mother, and I will not tell the client who is who, to kind of have a unbiased approach. Because when we have representatives, remember, we don't tell them what's the story. We just tell them, okay, you are father, you are mother. The rep doesn't know whether he is a loving husband or abusive husband. We don't give this information. And that's absolutely necessary, you know, in the group therapy, because we are still us, and the part of this conscious mind works up, and that completely interferes in the work of constellation. So when we are doing one-on-one, now client knows their own story. So I prefer not to tell them who they are channeling. So I will be the one initially to choose, and at the end of the constellation, I tell them that this is your father, that was your mother, or this was your son, and then we debrief it. So this is how constellation goes. Results are absolutely same as a group constellation. Experience is very different. So I would suggest everyone should experience group constellation. We all have numerous problems. How do we choose the ones of priority? For example, is it better to focus on diseases or excluded members? See, the priority of the issue is priority to you. It cannot be a priority to the group or the family. So what disturbs you the most? Okay, now when we say excluded members is, nobody has ever actually come to me saying, hey, I have excluded member and let's do the constellation. That disease or that some block always leads to excluded members. Okay, so priority, if you have like two things, let's say you want to quit smoking and you are not able to, and you can't find love. Okay, now these are two different issues. Now, which one to choose? Whichever one is the most urgent for you. That's how we go about it. And then constellation shows if it is related to excluded member. However, if you have somebody who has been excluded, let's say somebody who has been given for adoption, or somebody that has been forgotten, and you just got that awareness, without any constellation, you can just hold that person's image in your mind and open your heart to that person and just say the truth, who that person is. So you are my younger brother, for example, and I have a space in my heart, or you are my great grandfather, or whoever is that. Acknowledge that person. That's all is required, nothing more, if that awareness is there. How do I know the constellation work was successful? Yeah, that's a very difficult question. I don't know what is success. So first you need to define what success means, right? What is your expectation? Usually when there are expectations in constellations, it doesn't go well. So I don't know, like I had a constellations for myself personally, where like something got resolved within a day. Okay, something like not being able to sell the property and immediately sold the property. I had another issue again myself. I was down with the most terrible eye disease or infection. A couple of months ago it started, and I did multiple constellations, and I still struggled. I would like to say from October till probably last Saturday. So I don't know what's the success. How would you define success in the constellation? But what I've learned through all those constellations that I've constellated because of my eye is incredible, and I won't name any of it as a failure or unsuccessful. So had a constellation last November for my thyroid. How long does it take to balance my thyroid? I'm still on medication. I wish I had an answer to this question. I truly don't have the answer. How long will it take to balance? As I'm saying, I had constellations that resolve the issues in a day, and I have no idea. I don't know what constellation showed up, how you have integrated. Does that answer you? I have one more question, Iram, one sec. Yes, I'll unmute you. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Okay, this healing modality, would you say it is more based on psychology, or is there like a metaphysical energy healing aspect to it?
I would say, I don't know what you mean by metaphysical. Means like, what do you mean by metaphysical?
Like energy healing?
No, I mean, energy, everything is the energy. Your intestines, your digestive system, everything is the energy. So if I'm understanding correctly, is it a scientific, more approach, more psychological? If that's your question, yes, it is.
Okay. So then it will still, but it is still effective if I'm doing a healing for somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Because how I'm not sure how that will work. Like if I'm certain that I will not be able to picture everybody or everything around based on somebody else's perception, right?
No, that's why I said depends who is somebody else. If you are doing it for your neighbor, definitely not. But if you are doing it for your son, I assume you are also going to be part of the constellation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
And if sometimes as a mother, you have absolute right to do the constellation and being, focused on your son. So something that your son is going through, you are worried, you are anxious, you want to constellate. Now, if it's a anxiety and the worry of your son who tells you, Mom, can you help me? Can you, go somewhere and do something for me? If that's if that kind of communication is there from your son when you do the constellation, and let's say he cannot come and attend, you will share it with him.
Okay. All right.
So you will share what was the last image and where he needs to focus, what was the message of the constellation. Otherwise, you don't have to do even that if you are doing it from your perspective.
Okay.
As a mother.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome. Anyone else? I think there are no more questions. Let's still wait for 2-3 minutes. Otherwise, we can, yes, all good. Thank you. Thank you, Asma. Thank you, everyone. It was great seeing all of you. It's been quite some time. I've not done the group constellation and I'm pretty missing it and can't wait to come back to Dubai and do one. And hopefully I will see you all there one day. Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Hanadi is also here. Thank you, Hanadi. Thanks. Bye, Arpita. Yes, there is another question. Yes, Khulud, come on, I'm listening. Should I unmute you or can you? Yes. Hello? Hello? You can write the question here. I guess that's better because there are some sound coming. Hello? Yes.
Yes, hi.
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much for the beautiful explanation. I have a question about what you said in terms of, you know, that every family constellation, most of the problems that we have lead to member. So exclusion is something very big in the field of the family constellations, as I understand. And so my question is, and you kind of mentioned some of it maybe, but I just wanted some confirmation from you, that if we know about the excluded members, like for example, you know, miscarriages and things like that in the family, how can one, without a family constellation probably.
Hello? Hello, I'm losing your sound.
Because of excluded child. Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Hello? Yes,
Can you hear me?
I couldn't hear you well, but I kind of guessed what you are saying. So if you know that there are miscarriages in the family, without doing constellation, how can you heal that part? Is that so? Is that your question?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so if miscarriages are yours.
That's my question.
Yeah. So if you went through the miscarriages, and I don't know what experience you had, what kind of closure you had, how did you grieve it, but those miscarriages belong to your family as much as your living children. So for example, if you have 2 children and 2 miscarriages, then you need to be a mother of 4 rather than mother of 2. So basically those children belong to your system as much as those who made it. And that would be the healing. So you need to take those children as your children. They shouldn't be forgotten. They shouldn't be, you know, completely excluded and never mentioned. Probably, I don't know if you have spoken to your husband how you felt, if he spoke to you how he felt. So this needs to be given a proper space, and those children deserve a space in your heart and your husband's heart.
Okay, is it enough for me to do that? I mean, on behalf of everyone else, like, or does it also include the father, for example?
It does include the father. That's what I said. You will include them in your heart. So how much your husband will include is his job, right?
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's clear.
Healing, yes. And I was told I was born from a space of death.
I said, oh, she's crying again.
Asma, hello. Yes, Asma. Can you hear me?
No. When Khulud asked about the question about miscarriage, I remembered that my mom had a twin girl before me, and she had a miscarriage. So those twin girls passed away, and it was her first girls because she had boys before me. And then after them, I think with like 3-4 years, I don't know, I was born. So like a breathing facilitator once told me when she was asking about my family history that, oh, do you know that this is really like influence you? I told her how. she told me because you came from a space of death, like your previous sisters that when they died, like in the miscarriage, and you were born from a space of sorrow and death. I don't know, when the question was asked by Khulud, I just remembered this.
It's always good to remember your twin sisters. It's always good to remember your twin sisters and hold them closely in your heart. And from whichever space you are born, what you need to celebrate that you are born and you are alive, isn't it?
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Yes. Thank you, and thanks to Khulud for asking the question. Thank you both.
Yes.
Thank you.
Enjoy. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.